Welcome back to Alumni Game, the show where three Gamecocks dive into South Carolina sports, football, hoops, the NCAA, everything that comes along with it.
Where our opinions are never filtered, sometimes reasonable, and always fun.
That's right. You can check out all of those takes that we have on YouTube, Instagram, and wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on all those platforms. Settle in, y'all, and let's get started with this week's episode of Alumni
Game!
Gamecock fans, welcome back to Alumni Game. We're cooking this week. We got basketball, we got some March Madness, and it's awesome, baby. Especially the women's. Women's are really, really cooking. They took the SEC tournament with a win over Texas, which was awesome. I do not like that LSU team very much, so I wanted Texas. We got Texas, and we took them by 20 with a 64-45 final, winning, at least in the notes, by combined 58 points in 3 games. Is that right, fellas?
Yeah, man, we spanked them. The women's team spanked them in this SEC
I mean, for
tournament,
some
dude.
low-scoring games too. Like when
Yeah,
they play
man.
close games, they're low-scoring, but that kind of
It's that
combined.
physicality. Can we start off? Can we start off real quick with talking about how beautiful the weather has been? Like, I'm so happy that winter is done. Knock on
Yes.
wood, right?
Yeah,
And
spring is springing.
How is it down in Columbia, Buster? Is it beautiful down there?
Oh, man. Well, the funny thing is Monday we had a high of 44 with rain all day. And I was like, what is this? Like, we're in March. This shouldn't be happening.
Soak it. You don't want no drought.
But here's the thing. I'm okay with the rain. It's good for the grass. The grass is going to be growing here soon. So what happens is we have one day of just to remind us what winter was like. And since that day, it has been 75, slight breeze, low humidity. The bugs aren't even out yet.
Nice.
So
Plumps.
you pretty much, as soon as I can get out of the office, I get home and I sit on the back porch. I'm only here in the studio today, aka my office, because I miss seeing your beautiful faces. So if it wasn't for you guys, I'd be out on the patio.
Or when you got to get out and you got to run that hype train, right? I mean, that's an outside activity. Yeah, no, I hear you guys. I mean, basketball is an indoor activity, at least as it's played at this level. I mean, geez, they play a lot of hockey games outside. Maybe they can play some more basketball games outside too. That'd be fun.
Like those old
Yeah.
N1 tournaments.
Yeah, right. Geez.
Yeah.
But yeah, winning that SEC tournament, what? Fifth
So-
time in a row or something like that.
So, Mike, we'll go back to these scores, right? So they beat
yeah,
Vandy.
let's do that.
They beat Vandy 84-63.
Mhm.
Okay. I don't think anyone was terribly surprised by that, right? Like, I think everyone was like, all right, 20 points, whatever. They got to have a couple comeback. They got to have their comeback stroke after that. Buster's going to talk about the weird seeding that was going on. But then they beat Oklahoma by eight. What is it? 18, 93-75. And
Yep.
they destroyed Texas by 19, 64-45.
Yeah. I mean, what's funny about them is they will get up to 100, but anytime I see them in a low scoring game, like they have a low score too, like a final that's 60-50 or whatever, they seem to love those games. And they just love playing defense. Most teams want to score. Yeah, you play defense, but they don't care if they don't hit 100. They don't care if they don't hit 70. They want to keep that score down. And that seems like what Dawn wants in general.
Yeah.
I mean, she wants that rookie scoring, she wants to get her comfortable, obviously, for the future. But the defense that they're playing is just so much more fun and so much more who they are.
I get the sense it was just like there was a message to be sent to Texas. Because, Buster, you remember we were talking about the Texas game earlier this year that when they lost, and it was all about physicality, right? Do you get the sense that this was just basically like, look, here's the message. You guys want to be physical against us? We can play that game. Do you get that sense?
Yeah. Oh, so the funny thing is when you watch the game where we did lose to Texas, and it was at Texas, there was a level of physicality we had not seen out of Texas the first time we played them, which we won that game. And it was a lot of contact, especially down in the box, down in the paint. And so you kind of got the feeling that Vic Schaefer and the Longhorns, the Lady Longhorns, were going to kind of say, okay, if you guys want to play physical and aggressive, we'll play that. The problem was, I think that there was a physicality there from Texas at that game that maybe there could have been a couple of calls here and there, but instead of complaining to the refs and about the refs, what does Dawn do? She says, "Hey, we got to play our game. We let them play our game against us. So next time we see them, and we will, and it obviously came to fruition in the SEC tournament, we got back to Dawn's bread and butter and meat and potatoes, and that is
you see the coaching there,
aggressive physical defense that, whether our scoring is off or on, and whether Tahina or Tessa are hitting threes, whether Chloe's getting buckets from the elbow, all of that can happen and ebb and flow. But the one thing that stays consistent, Dawn preaches a stingy defense that creates turnovers, that creates rebounds, that creates mistakes, and creates vulnerabilities against another team. And you saw that happen in those last 3 games that we're talking about. We won by a combined 58 points.
Ridiculous.
That is domination, and that is what Dawn Staley is about. That's her psychology, philosophy, and I love it.
Yeah,
when you look at what we talked about this season, all 3 of us were talking about the women's game, and there's going to be like a lot of minutes going around to different players. In this final, to their point, like there was a statement to be made where they wanted a physical inside presence. Obviously, Ashland's hurt out for the season, so Chloe Kitts comes in. She puts in a solid 30 minutes. Raven Johnson, the best perimeter defender, maybe the best defender, but definitely the best perimeter defender. 32 minutes, and she didn't stuff the stat sheet as much as Chloe. Chloe, I think, finished with 15 and 9.
Didn't need to.
But Ravens, I mean, when you hold the scoring to 45 points, that's all perimeter defense in this day and age, and she did a great job.
And let's not forget Sania Feagin. I absolutely love Sania.
Yeah.
Because, the last couple of years we had Aaliyah Boston and Camila Cardoso. I mean, and those ladies, they protected the rim. Like, if you came to the paint, they were going to stop you. If you went to the rim, they were going to stop you.
Yeah, I said that a while ago. That was going to be the thing to fix. Yeah.
And I was wondering, a lot of people wondered about that. Was like, are we going to do that again? Sania showed up, and she showed in that SEC championship game. Yeah. She protected
a little
that
chippy
rim.
Too, a little chippy, and
I love it.
Like, love to see that.
Yeah,
almost like you're a hockey player ready to fight. But no, I would say that. I would say, look, hey, if I'm turning this episode into a musical, we gotta get physical, physical. I mean, it's just that simple. And man, Dawn, even if it goes wrong, she'll fix it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She knows the way the season goes, the ebbs and the flows. She knows now. You almost get the sense that she knows how this is going to go into next year. And like, she already knows like into next year what her starting lineup is going to be. And she's putting those little pawns in place now on this chessboard. Man, she is just something. And she seems to get the whole culture and everything that South Carolina is all about. I mean, she shows up to all the men's games, and we'll get to that in a minute. And it just feeds itself, and the energy there. It's like, the men can do what they're doing, and the energy's still there because she brings it in, and the women are bringing the noise, and I don't see that anywhere else really.
Dawn is the culture. I think whatever
she deserves the number 1 seed.
Yeah, she is the culture, and that's like you said. I think you guys think. I'm pretty sure we all think South Carolina in general, the Gamecock Nation thinks South Carolina deserves that number 1 overall seed.
Yeah, I mean, it almost starts to feel like Cocky's got to watch out. There's another mascot running around. You know what I mean? Like, geez. But yeah, what do you think about that? Do you think that that going into the NCAA Women's Tournament that we deserve number 1? I mean, UCLA beat us, and they're right there. They beat the other SC. Like, what do we think about that? I mean, obviously, we think they should get number 1, but does the nation think that? Are UCLA fans going to have something to say about that? Like, we'll find out, right? But where do you think that goes? If South Carolina does not get the number 1 seed, does that mean we just destroy everybody because we're pissed about that?
I'm sure there's going to be a way that Dawn would spin that, but she was politicking pretty hard after that SEC championship game on ESPN.
She was
it on ESPN, right? I think she was politicking pretty hard to get that overall number 1 seed. I mean, look, they've only got 3 losses, and all those teams they lost to were number 1 at one point in the season.
Yeah.
And it's weird, right? Because even in the SEC tournament, we had some with that number 1 seed, right, Buster?
Well, I mean, think about this. The expectation is if we're looking at this objective thing, because we are very objective and very reasonable here. Like, if the national perception is that for South Carolina to be a number one seed, they have to keep doing what they've been doing, which is be undefeated, have barely a loss or anything like that. Realistically, though, it doesn't matter that you're undefeated. Those are just incredible expectations, and I get that. But really, a number one seed should be someone. Did you dominate your conference in the regular season?
Yeah.
Yes. Did you dominate your conference in the conference tournament? Yes. Who did you lose to? We lost to, like Sam said, to teams that were also number one at some point in the season.
But out of our conference, mostly, right?
Yeah. I mean, Texas was the only one in conference, and they're one of the best teams.
What was it? UConn and UCLA, right?
Yeah.
So,
I don't remember if UConn did make. I think they were a number one at some point. I don't remember when, but I know UCLA.
But UConn also caught us on the rebound. I mean, we were reeling a bit from UCLA. Don't get me wrong, UCLA threw us, and if they end up with a number one, that's exactly what you point to.
And the thing is like UConn. I mean, think about it. It's still UConn. Like they still have enough clout from what they've been doing for the last 20 years
on both sides, men and women. Yeah.
So there's that, and that's why it's a hard thing to describe about whether I think we're going to be one of the 4 number one seeds, but the overall number one seed, maybe we have to do a coin flip for that. I don't know. Did we ever hear about doing a coin flip?
I heard something about it.
What happened there?
It's 50-50, right?
Yeah. So it's a weird thing. This was instituted, I want to say 5 years ago. Don't quote me on that, but
like during the pandemic 5 years ago?
I think it was it might have been before. Basically, when the SEC as a whole in basketball stopped doing East and Western divisions in the SEC conference, and we just did 1 through 12, now 14, now 16.
One conference united.
Yeah.
One conference united. So instead of having a championship, an SEC championship between the best team in the East, the best team in the West, it was the top 2 teams. Well, the problem is Texas and South Carolina were both number one because we both had the same record. We both lost to each other and beat each other. And there was no other real metric that, whether like points scored, points against, or anything like that could really be taken into account.
Reminds me of Step Brothers when they both knock each other out,
Exactly.
Like
exactly. It is exactly like that. And so what they had to do was do a coin flip. And Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, literally got on some televised broadcast and had to flip the coin. Now, that doesn't mean that we weren't regular season. No, us and Texas shared the regular season conference championship. But for the purpose of seeding for the tournament, someone has to be named number one. Yeah. And so he did the coin flip. The coin, I don't know if it was a quarter, coin flip, $50, if it was a special SEC dollar, but it landed on heads. And
marketing opportunity.
So, we got the number one seed, much to the chagrin of Coach Vic Schaefer of Texas. He had some words about that were a little crybaby-ish.
Yeah, I mean, it ultimately, does it matter? I don't know. Did things go different? I mean, we beat Texas, so there you go.
Well, that's
the thing. Just win on the court. Just win on the court.
I mean, look, could they go to something else like margin of victory or something, or average strength of schedule? Sure, but the coin flip was kind of fun. It was kind of fun, and look, they had it there. They never used it. Now they used it. That it was us. I mean, we're enjoying it.
Do you guys know if the coin flip did a team have the option to call heads or tails, or did it just say South Carolina on one side and LSU on the other?
That's a great question.
How does that work? Because
have to come back to
you want to say heads, because you guys know that like 60% of the time when it's flipped, it's going to be heads. Like 55, 60% of the time. Isn't that crazy? You think 50-50, but you should go heads.
The thing is, as much as he would complain about whether there was an advantage getting heads or tails, he also complained that there was a home field advantage in us playing in Bonsecours Arena in Greenville for the SEC tournament. That's not our decision. That's the SEC.
For people that don't know, Greenville,
Greenville, South Carolina. Yeah. But the thing is like he's whining about all these other things that shouldn't affect your team. If your team is good enough, then all that
use it for fuel to win.
But yet, I'm like, dude, your team came in as the other number one seed, yet you barely shot 30%. We shot 43%. You had only 1 3-pointer made all game. We out-rebounded you. We had 2.5 times more assists, 15 assists to their 5. So I'm like, buddy, like
I don't know, Buster. You're gonna draw the ire. He's gonna want to be on the program to shred you soon.
Sure, go right ahead. Join up.
No, but it's
Horns
right. It's
down,
right.
you know, horns down.
All right, so look.
If you're a
That's
head coach
plenty on the
getting
coin
distracted
flip,
by
and we're
that,
bashing
you
Texas,
know,
and we're
like-
loud.
Yeah, I'm very loud.
But let's move it on here. We're classier than all of that. Which look, we're looking forward. We don't have the bracket yet. We
Comes out
are
Sunday.
sitting on this tourney win. But what happens next? You know, maybe we get the number 1 overall seed. We definitely get a number 1 seed. Okay. We look at the side of the bracket that we're on. What are some potential teams that could dethrone the current champion, aka our Gamecocks? Who are you guys looking at that's like, you know, they're hot, or they got our number, or they play a certain way?
I think you got to start with the 3 teams we lost to. I mean, Texas, UConn, and UCLA.
Right.
Mike, I know you got a sleeper, and I'll leave it to them because it's an intriguing matchup that
sure.
you call. But I think it's basically between those 3. I would imagine the one that scares me the most is UConn with Paige Buchers. She's dangerous. She's a 2-3
like her, yeah.
shifty guard. I do. I think she's really good. She's got that. She just got that. It's just beautiful to watch. I've never seen like a women's game play where it feels like, you know, it's like a slick poetry in motion.
I kind of felt that with
like
Caitlin Clark a little bit when I got to watching her.
Yeah,
I'll watch her play pro now, and I see it there too.
I get you. Like Caitlin was like that, especially when she had that that touch and shoot from the 3-point arc and you know, like the
from
diagonal.
Deep. Yeah.
But what I like about Paige is like she's got that beautiful drive into the basket and can dish it out. Like she's got a little bit of that kind of killer mentality. So I think UConn probably scares me the most, and plus Gino Ariami.
Yeah. And I feel you with Texas. I mean, we're poking the bear a little, talking about them. And, you know, to play them again, I am a big tenet of that in NFL football. Your division opponent is there for you in the playoffs, and you've already played them twice, and you've got to play them again. That to beat a team 3 times, or to go into that rubber game and not know what it's going to be, that breeds competition, that breeds good coaching, that motivates players to play well. I hated you playing the first time. I hated you even more the second time. I hate you so much now. I have to beat you. I cannot not beat you. I can't even look myself in the mirror if I don't beat you. I hate you so much, and I don't want you around anymore. And I just feel like Texas is feeling that right now, especially the way you say Lady Longhorns. I'm thinking the way the NCAA banned it. They didn't ban us though. We can do it. No, I like it. You know, they're in the SEC now. Let's go. They wanted the SEC. Here we are. Let's play. You want to play again? Let's play again. I mean, hopefully things can break that way. I'll say it right now. I want to see that. I want to see
Mike, I agree. Like, I like the Texas matchup just because, like you said, it's a conference rival. I want to say, after watching last year with the rivalry between us and LSU, LSU's taken a step back this year, so Texas has kind of jumped into that spot, and they've shown a level of chippiness. There's, you know, there's some conversations and communications from Vic Schaefer where he's kind of, you know, we'll say something snarky, you know, thinly veiled. I don't know, like where he's at as far as
not so unbiased or reasonable.
Yeah, exactly. But if it's not Texas, UConn still scares me the most because, again, like Sammy said, it's Gino is Gino. He did him and Pat Summitt set the standard for women's basketball from like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And then if you look at if you're looking at Paige, she is just an outstanding player. But then there's Ozzie Fudd, who's the other 5-star that they had. Both of those girls, they played over 30 minutes in their championship game against Villanova, won by 40-something, 38 points or something like that. It was ridiculous. Both of them shot I think 52% from the field and 40% from 3. They're dangerous, and that's the thing is one cure, one thing to kind of offset a physical defense is be able to shoot from outside, because then that means your defense has to stretch to that 3-point line, and then if you do that, then you're opening up passing lanes in an inside game, and they can still play that inside game. So if you got sharpshooters, you can stretch a defense and make them vulnerable. That's what UConn can do, and that's what kind of scares me. But I do like the idea of Texas being a rival. But I still think on a national level, UConn still our rival, because Dawn is going after, not going after. She's building a legacy like Gino built a legacy
Yeah.
at UConn.
Yeah,
So,
I would agree with that. I mean, in some ways, I think Tennessee is still a rival because of the legacy they have and the streaks that they have. And I think, Don's going after some of those records, but, we'll see. But yeah, Sam mentioned a team that I was kind of talking about in our prep. And, Duke's lying there in the weeds, and they've won 6 straight. And they seem a little like what Sam said about UConn. And they seem like a team that could kind of sideswipe and maybe from perimeter, if our defense lags a little, maybe in a transition game a little, if we're feeling a little slow that day. So definitely going to look at the matchups and the side of the bracket we're on. And if those matchups are there for Texas, UConn, UCLA, and I would throw in Duke, those are going to be the ones to highlight. I mean, obviously anything can happen in the tournament, right? I mean,
yeah.
Especially where we got a target, right? Like we were off for a little bit before last year. Like we got stung and we didn't, but now we did, and we're looking to repeat. And anytime anyone's looking to repeat in any championship anywhere, they're the ones to go after, right? They're the champs. So we saw that in the Super Bowl. Philly outplayed the champs. They played harder. They wanted it more. Winning 3 in a row there is ridiculous, right? Same thing here. 2 straight is not a record, but it is something, and it's a grind. And we had to grind this year, and we did lose some games, and we rebound, and we talked about Don being able to do that, and the team rebounding as well as good rebounding.
I think a lot of that had to do with, remember when they had to find their personality.
I think that rookie, and I think Full Wiley brings an attitude.
Yeah, but she really didn't step up until Ashlyn got hurt. I think because Ashlyn's kind of the identity of the team, right?
You're right.
Out there pounding, and then Ashlyn gets hurt.
That pushed this team in a different direction.
They needed to figure out a new identity a little bit, and I hate using that term, but sometimes it's true.
Yeah.
Just because we have her, and we mentioned her, what do you think happens with her? Does she toll a year with the injury and come back, or where?
Because she was only a sophomore, so she was only a sophomore.
She'll basically be like a redshirt junior now or something.
She'll be a redshirt sophomore. So
good. Yeah, she gets the whole year over again, or the injury waiver thing. Yeah, cool.
I mean, and honestly, in women's college basketball, you can leave early, but
you get paid more in college.
You get paid more.
Yeah. Caitlin Clark got like $5 million.
You do,
no, for sure.
Asia Wilson,
and Leah eventually the Olympics will come back around too, and there's that, and
she'll be back.
We got some stuff to do with women's basketball, and we'll keep talking about them. Obviously, very exciting. But to go to the other side of the coin, we got the men's, and we know now that the season is done. A disappointing loss to those Hogs, Arkansas losing by 4, 72-68. Not the worst. Not the worst game, not the worst way to lose, but a team that we kind of thought they could get. Paris knows this team, but going undefeated against Arkansas is not happening, didn't happen. The tournament is not in our future. No tournament is our future. And let's just be clear about this, guys, because I don't know exactly how this all works every time, but this season is over, right?
Over.
Oh, yeah, we're not going to the NIT. You kidding me? No chance.
Not because some other team does something stupid or gets kicked out or something.
We are going to Colonial Life Arena. We're going to go into the locker room. We're going to pack up our stuff. We're going to do our exit interviews, and we are going to finish out the semester academically. And then we're going to go on summer break, and that's it. But there's no other basketball.
So for me then, since it's final, there are stats, right? So we finished 12-20 with how many wins in the conference?
I think was it 1?
2.
2.
A lot of twos in there, 12-20 with 2 wins.
You guys remember the movie Major League when the guy threw a one-hitter and he's like, 1 hit, 1 goddamn hit? That's what I just felt. 2 wins?
Well, I'm gonna go back to my Gary Busey comments. Give me 2, Utah. Give me 2. I want way more than 2. Okay, I'm not talking about meatball subs. Okay, I'm talking about conference wins, and I kind of thought Georgia could be one. I kind of thought there were some other wins to be had there that didn't happen. But that being said, it ain't happening. And I know it's in our notes, and I gotta ask this question, and I don't know that I want the answer. thoughts and grades on the season, fellas? Since we're talking academics.
Okay, so the passing grades there are two subjects, two categories for passing grades. That is heart and effort is one. So these guys, they had a disaster of a season. They were a disaster on the court, and we can talk about all the little things that went wrong.
We need FEMA.
But the one thing that didn't go wrong is they gave 150% every game. If you look at today's game against Arkansas and even the regular season finale against Tennessee earlier this week, Collin Murray-Boyles suffered a minor injury. It was a contusion to his thigh, basically a deep bruise. And the man still played 33 minutes today with imagine the worst Charlie horse you've ever had.
Yeah, and it's a pain thing, right? He's just playing through the pain.
Yeah, it's pain.
Can't really do a lot more damage.
And the one thing that's most important is your ability to make a jump shot, be able to use your legs to get up for rebounds, things like that. Imagine trying to do that with a half-numb leg from it just being painful all the time. So, and he played 33 minutes. So
probably earned himself another $2 or $3 million, to be honest, playing through the
maybe
scout. Some NBA teams love seeing that.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah.
So, and then
they're watching him.
The other passing grade would be, it's not necessarily coaching, but Lamont and the coaching staff, I think, did a fantastic job keeping the guys engaged so that they did play with that level of energy. Like whatever went wrong and however people want to spin it, either within Gamecock Nation or from the national level, Lamont kept this team with a level of character that said, it doesn't matter what your record is, go out there and give it 110%. And they did every game. So I give those two things a passing grade. Everything else, it's a failing grade. Finishing at the basket.
Does Paris get a passing grade?
He gets a passing grade in the sense of
like a C minus.
You give him a C minus only for the idea that what he was able to do to keep the team engaged. Whatever you're talking and whatever you're saying in the locker room to keep a 2 and 13, 2 and 16.
Yeah, it's hard to stay with it. Yeah, especially where every other team in the conference is actually fairly good. I mean, there were only a couple teams that kind of dropped off.
Let's give kudos to the SEC basketball world now. It's way different than it was 20 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah. So different. I mean, you got a bunch of 18 to 20-something-year-old kids, and they can fold at any minute, seeing like how bad of a season they're having. And Lamont's like, we're not finished yet. Keep going out there and keep showing who you are. And
that is reasonable and unbiased if I've ever heard it, for sure.
I like the C minus grade. To that point, I like the fact that he seems very like the engaged word. I think is probably best used here, Buster. I like that a lot because
engagement.
Yeah, he engages with Don.
Like social media.
Engages with Shane Beamer. He's looking to get those like buttons. But the stadium's
got a new AD up there too.
There's still seats. Fans are still filling the seats in the arena for like a 10-win team, right? Deep in February. So there is a degree of like I think everyone understands that this is still a work in progress. Yeah. They had a really good start to the start of the season. My hope is that PJ Dozier still has 1 or 2 years left of eligibility, but maybe he doesn't. But
speaking of eligibility and what keeps people engaged, I mean, I'm with you, Sam. The energy is there when I was watching these games. Not necessarily from me, but definitely from the fans that are there. And if I was there, I probably would be the same way. But it kind of felt to me that was because you get to see a borderline superstar play with Collin Murray-Boyles.
But you still got to keep his head right on the shoulders, right? So maybe it was more about individual coaching that Paris did a good job on.
And he did. If he's playing through these thigh bruises and he's motivated, then he did. But if that's the guy who's putting people in seats, is he coming back?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So that's the hardest, easiest question to answer, because the easy question or the easy answer would be no, he's gone. All season long it's been talked about that he is a potential lottery pick. Like he's at least draft worthy this upcoming NBA draft.
Yeah, we threw out some teams: Spurs, Pelicans.
He's definitely draft worthy, and there's some pundits that love his ability, love the idea that he's got a bit of size, he's got
toughness,
toughness, fundamentals. Like there's a lot of like about him. If anybody watched the broadcast today, 1 o'clock it was on SEC Network. Like the commentators were just praising Collin Murray-Boyles, singing his praises up and down the court because he looked really good. There was a great highlight of him with the thigh bruise, taking the ball, driving to the basket, finishing with his left hand jam, and should have been called for an N1 on that because the guy came in and took out his wrist. But at the same time, the one thing that would bring him back was if you could say, as Lamont Paris and say the basketball program, we're going to invest more NIL money to the basketball program.
Yeah, and they said that, yeah.
Yep. Lamont tells him, hey, you are a NBA guy, but we can get you NBA-like money if you stay here for another year, and you develop a jump shot and a three-point shot because that's what you need in the NBA.
And
even
free
as a
throws.
big man.
Free throws.
He shot 70%. Which
I watched a couple of games where I was like, dude, make a free throw. You know?
He was still the best free throw shooter on the team because the free throw shooting was awful.
No, I know.
So bad.
And I'll say this, guys, I got a funny visual in my mind, like some kind of South Park thing where like after the game they can like interview the thigh bruise. And the thigh bruise is like, look, I was really trying to shut him down. I was really trying to give him pain. He just wouldn't stop. Like this, like the thigh like talking, like, I tried, you know?
So there is no real information. There's some smoke, there's some rumors, there's some hearsay. That's all unbiased, unfiltered. We don't care.
Non-reasonable.
Non-reasonable. But there is enough there that a legitimate argument could be made that if he could come back, upgrade his resume, so to speak, be able to be a part of a team that's been reinvested by the athletics department, where we get a really good shooting guard next year in Eli Ellis coming out of the high school ranks. There's some highlights on that. And then a couple other pickups, and maybe we're back to being a tournament team.
For sure.
I agree.
And speaking of which, right, we got some of that coming up. We're knocked out now, and the SEC tournament goes on without us. So we do have the bracket with what's there and just history. Kentucky does hold the most SEC tournament titles with 32, but captured the last in 2018, with Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee winning the last 5. Now, a lot of those are in it here. We do have some general predictions on what we're thinking. The percentages that Sam's going to bring us kind of show us Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, in terms of, top to bottom, who's kind of the best and what's going to be there. Do we want to delve into some top seeds, some early Final Four ideas here, at least out of those teams? Because nationwide, I'm hearing as many as 3 SEC teams in the Final Four. I don't know that I think that.
Sam, give us yours.
That's a lot. 3 is a lot, but it could happen. I mean, it's like the early 2000s ACC teams when you had Maryland and Duke and all of them. So real quick, Auburn's a plus 160 to win, Florida plus 250, Tennessee's plus 600, Alabama plus 450. So you're right there, Mike, with all the predictions. Nice. I'm gonna make it quick. I think Tennessee is actually going to shock everyone. I think they're coming in as the 4 seed. They'll most likely play Texas A&M in their first game, which will be I believe on Friday. They played Auburn close, so if it's a final against Auburn, I think they can keep it close. They got to work on their rebounding though. They've only got a couple guys. They've only got about 4 or 5 guys averaging 3 rebounds a game. They've been out rebounded too the last 6 or 7 games. So, but they held a lot of teams to limited rebounding. So I think they win on the glass. They've refined their form. And I think Tennessee, led by Rick Barnes, wins the SEC.
Nice. Nice. You looking at it, Buster? What do you think?
So to keep it in the SEC, that does have a legitimate shot at the Final Four, and has a legitimate shot to win the SEC. I'm going with the University of Florida Fighting Gators out of Gainesville, home to my mother-in-law. She's an alum, so shout out.
Oh, don't do it, Sam. Don't even do it.
But no, I like them. I like their play. Clayton Jr., the guard, averages 18 points a game. He's very dynamic. You got Condon down in the middle. He's tops in the SEC with 8 rebounds a game. They just have a great all-around game. None of their stats are like, number 1 in the nation here and there. But all of their stats are in that top 30, top 40.
Yeah. No, I'm with that. I think when I saw Florida this year, I saw a team that could lose a random game,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I worry about that in a tournament.
And they
Florida.
almost
I
lost to
don't
us.
lose sleep over it, but if I'm Florida, that's what I'm worried about.
But they could
And
also
just to counter a
win
little,
the big game.
but I do think they're right there with my pick, and I am going to go with Auburn. That feels a bit homer because they are favored, but it's not for the reason you think. It's because that Alabama win at Auburn was a big win, and that pissed them off. That is not the team they want to lose to, right? So for me, that had shades a bit of when it's placed right before a big tournament, the big
Revenge
tournament.
story.
It felt like Ohio State, Michigan. It felt like Alabama came in there as Michigan, whooped their rival at their house right before all the stuff, and that could, get that War Eagle flying high. And like we talked about, that coach can take that, use that as fire. The home crowd is going to use that. They're going to want to go see their team win now. If they do get Alabama again, watch out, right? And the rest of the SEC too, because they lost a big rivalry SEC game at home that felt like a bit of a knockout blow right before you're supposed to be, getting in bed with the tournament. So I just see that as motivation. I always look for motivation. I feel like Vegas says one thing, but that's why you play the game. And people play these games and people can get motivated, and you can find motivation somewhere, anywhere. That is obvious motivation.
I mean, but they are the
know.
number one team. The number one
Well, yes.
seed.
But I think they're number one with an edge now. They're not number one just sitting there, we're good. They're number one with a bullet.
Here's your motivation. Here's your motivation for for the University of Florida Gators. Shout out to our friend Thomas Kudlow, big Gator fan. We're bringing it back to his old place back when he was an undergrad here at the University of South Carolina. I remember sitting on his couch, him and the Lazy Boy, watching Billy Donovan win back-to-back national championships with the Florida Gators. So if you're talking about motivation, we're bringing that all back, and we could see Florida going all the way.
Yeah. Was that on Hardin Street? Was that where that was?
That was the Hardin Street was my old place. This was down in the backside of Rosewood near Owens Field Airport and Memorial Stadium. I don't remember the street, but I can remember the rotisserie chicken on the counter and the Ronco rotisserie maker.
There wasn't a baseball field over there, was there? Was there like a baseball field down the road?
There's a kind of like a little league baseball field.
Yeah. Okay, never mind. Wrong area.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we were going to talk a tiny bit about my Celtics, Lakers. I don't know that we need to do that. I think we're excited enough about this tournament, even without South Carolina in it, the SEC is representing. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and say we did it this week. Women's are doing it. Men will be back next year. But that feels like another episode of Alumni.
Game.
Cox.
Game.
Boy.
Cox.